Welcome to the Chiropractic and Legal Injury Podcast, recorded live at our events. We're here bringing you the expertise, insights, and tools you need to navigate the world of personal injury care and to uncover what you didn't know about car accidents. It's no accident you're listening today, so let's get started.
Hi, good morning. This is Larry Lazzara. I'm at the first ever Chiropractic Legal Injury Conference, and I'm joined here with legendary neurosurgeon Dr. Mohammed Abdulhamid with Royal Spine Surgery. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Larry. Thanks for having me here. A little too early, so my voice might sound a little different. But
that's all right. We'll wake you up. No worries.
Let's do it.
Well, we have a big day today. You're participating in the first ever multidisciplinary panel at one of these continuing education conferences. Are you looking forward to your role in the panel today?
Oh, it's going to be exciting, man. I've been looking forward to this event. I'm all about team approach, collaborating and working with other team. One hand doesn't clap. You need a strong team when you take care of patients in general. So
absolutely. You know, that's one of the biggest things that I advocate as a personal injury attorney is you have to have an A team of medical specialists to work these cases up properly. And as you know, at my office, we do what's called active case management. And we want to make sure that all needs of the patients are being identified, psychological injuries, spine injuries, neurological issues. And you are, without a doubt, on my A team. And I know I've used you in an expert capacity numerous times, and we've sent you some incredibly complicated cases. So what I would like you to do is tell us a little bit about what you do as a neurosurgeon and what you look for when you're assessing personal injury cases.
So I guess as a neurosurgeon, my specialty focus on brain and spine. Brain in this case will be traumatic brain injury, concussion. We don't typically see patients with severe traumatic injuries like head bleeds, skull fractures, because those will probably end up going to the emergency room and be taken care of immediately. As far as the spine, and that's probably going to be the most common area for my involvement, and that's actually what I did my fellowship. So my focus is in spine surgery, spine health. I deal with things from simple neck pain and back pain all the way to myelopathy, spinal cord compression, radiculopathy, pinched nerve, foot drop, weakness, numbness, anything really that relates to the spine that might be contributing or causing the patient's not just pain, but also the neurological dysfunction, which is a very important element for me to evaluate and look for in my assessment. With the personal injury patient, my evaluation, the way I evaluate personal injury patients is no different than when I evaluate non-personal injury patients, because the evaluation always starts with a very thorough history and assessment. The only difference here is I'm constantly asking myself the question of how can the injury or the mechanism explain the symptoms that the patient is presenting with. And that's, I think, is the main difference between personal injury versus non-personal injury evaluation, is figuring out, is there a link, is there a connection between the mechanism of the car crash and the development of these symptoms and signs that the patients are presenting with.
That's amazing. And I know anytime somebody says neurosurgeon or surgery, they panic. And most people, they do not want to have surgery. Yeah. And I know in our cases, I'd say about 95% of the cases we've worked on were not surgical cases. But you did an extensive report, history, neurosurgical evaluation that was very helpful to the management of the cases for the pain management physicians, the chiropractic physicians. So can you tell us a little bit about the neurosurgical evaluation that you do on all patients, but I want to have a focus on personal injury cases and how your reports kind of help pave the path for future medical care that is not surgical?
Sure. I mean, I always start with obtaining a deep history or detailed history from the patient. And that detailed history is about the presenting symptoms, details on the car crash itself, if they can recall the details of the car crash, how it happened, the mechanism, was it a rear end, side swipe, T-bone. All of these things matter in trying to structure the mechanism of the injury. And then from there, I talk to the patient about what sort of, give me more details on the specific symptoms, but I'm also searching for symptoms that the patient might not be aware that they are symptoms, so I call it screening. So I'm screening them for certain conditions that might slide under the radar, especially things like myelopathy and things related to neurological dysfunction. And then we go into like the thorough physical examination, and then I go into a thorough assessment of the radiological images. It's very helpful when you have good neuroradiologists as well involved in the case, because they make our job easier, because they kind of like validate and verify what I'm seeing as well. And I always go over the MRI with my patient because I want them to see what we're seeing, and I try to simplify to them because I want to make sure that they see that there are injuries indeed, that it's not just in their head, that there is explanation for their symptoms.
Sure.
And then from there, we decide on the treatment plan. And like you mentioned, majority of these cases really do not need surgery. And there are criteria for surgical indications, not surgical indications. But then if they don't need surgery, we just reassure the patient that, good news, this is not a surgical condition. Having said that, that doesn't mean you don't have a problem, you don't have symptoms. That doesn't mean that things cannot get worse. So in some of these cases, I tell them, you don't need surgery now, but I still need to keep an eye on you. I want you to come back in 3 months or 4 months, because things can change. But in some cases, things start to improve and get better, and we discharge them, or we tell them, you don't need us at that point in time.
What are some of the conditions that the chiropractors and the patients should be aware of where it is anticipated that the condition will worsen or degenerate over time? What type of conditions are those, and what do you look for when you're doing your examination as it pertains to those conditions?
So one of the common conditions that go undiagnosed or undetected is cervical myelopathy.
And what is that?
And cervical myelopathy is a combination of symptoms and signs that result from the spinal cord being compressed. The spinal cord could be compressed from a disc herniation, from a bone spur, from a thick ligament, but in the case of personal injury claims, it's most commonly going to be a disc herniation. A piece of the disc herniated and now it's putting pressure on the spinal cord. Now, some patients might not develop immediate symptoms from the spinal cord compression aside from pain, neck pain, and stiffness. But now, as that pressure continues to build up over time, we start to recognize neurological dysfunction, and they are very subtle. They could be in terms of, I'm having trouble with dexterity. My handwriting has changed. I'm having trouble buttoning a shirt. It could be, I can't go up and down stairs without feeling out of balance.
Sure.
Oh, my bladder is so hyperreactive that I can't hold it. I gotta run to the bathroom. And those symptoms, for most patients, they don't associate it with the neck or with the spine. They associate it with, maybe I gave birth to like 5 kids and my bladder is overreacting. Right? Or I'm clumsy because I have arthritis. But in reality, it's all related to the spinal cord getting pinched. Now, that pinching of the spinal cord, or myelopathy, the condition, we know it's a progressive condition. It will get worse over time. We just don't know how fast that progression is going to be. That's why I bring them back if they're not surgical yet. And the best example, I tell my patient, think of it like a water hose that someone put a brick on it. What do you think happened to the plants over time? Did they get stronger or weaker? They all agree it's going to get weaker. So we all recognize it's a matter of time. When do you want to intervene is the part that we have to decide with the patient. When should we remove that brick and open up the water hose? Now, when the plants are actually dropping leaves, or we have some time because the plants are still holding on?
Sure. Well, we're at a chiropractic convention, a continuing education program, and chiropractic philosophy is, let's try to get the body to heal itself. Surgery is a last resort, so most of them aren't inclined to refer to you very early on following an accident. I find your reports and your assessments to be invaluable in the active case management of a file, particularly with the identifying injuries, coming up with long-term prognoses. So if you had the opportunity right now to tell chiropractors what kind of an impact you can make on cases that are not surgical, what would you want them to know?
I would say, I think the collaboration between chiropractors and spine surgeon is very, very important in these cases. I get a lot of people think that if you're going to go to a surgeon, they're going to tell you need surgery. And that might be, in some cases, might be true, but for me at least, the way I see it, let me be that second pair of eyes for you to look over that case and make sure that this patient isn't in danger of needing surgery, or potentially develop things that become surgical as a result of maybe manipulation or manual treatment.
Sure.
So I'm always working with them in terms of, let's collaborate. I don't have a problem being that second pair of eyes to look at the case. And in some cases, in most cases, I think, if I tell them, hey, this case is not surgical, that gives them at least that peace of mind to say, okay, we can actually treat that patient. And I usually put in my report, the patient is not surgical. Please continue the current chiropractic care program because it's helping the patient. And so it validates what they're doing,
Sure.
In my opinion.
Yeah, and I think the collaboration is key to the success of the patient outcome, and helps me do my job a lot easier because we've got your reports, the neuroradiologist reports, chiropractic, all working together to identify injuries and assess the extent of them. So I find what you do to be invaluable and such a huge contribution to the personal injury world. So I really have to thank you, and you've always been so professional. Your staff is amazing, and your work product is exemplary, like second to none. And it's a real privilege to work with you. What I would like to talk about very briefly is we've had cases where you were referred the file and I get a phone call that day, Larry, this person needs surgery immediately. I'm sending him or her to the hospital, and that's happened less than a handful of times, but it has happened. Can you tell us what condition or conditions you found that prompted that phone call and the emergency surgeries?
So going back to that water hose and plants,
Yes.
those patients showed up and the plants are actually falling, meaning it is now too far. And primarily, to me, surgical conditions are going to be ones where I'm now seeing clear, objective evidence on the examination of weakness, loss of strength, like a foot drop. Some of those cases that I think that you mentioned were patients that came to my clinic, and I'm examining them, and they have foot drop. And that, to me, is a neurological sign of something bad is happening. And with nerves, the sooner, the better. The best chance the best chance we can give our patient for full recovery is when we intervene the minute we recognize the neurological dysfunction. Or in some of these cases, I've had patients that they're coming to my clinic, and all of a sudden they're sharing with me they're losing bladder function because there is a big disc herniation pressing on their nerve in the lumbar spine, and that's what we call cauda equina. And in those cases, that's an emergency. When you have cauda equina, we have 48 hours, 72 hours at most to intervene to give that patient the best chance to protect and salvage its neurological function. And those cases, I don't really have time. So I've actually had a case, and it might have been one of your cases. I saw the patient, and okay, you needed surgery yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was actually going out of town, I think the next day. I had to scramble and call the OR and I said, listen, can we do this tomorrow? Because I don't have time. And they said, well, full tomorrow. I was like, I can come at 5 in the morning before anyone else. We need to take care of this patient.
Sure.
So yeah, there are these cases that when we see in the office, we have to now kind of like, pull the alarm, rope and say, listen, we need to act quickly. We need to let everyone know. And in those cases, I get it. Sometimes the question about, policy limit and that. I'm like, there is now, it's not about the policy, it's about let's take care of that patient right away and worry about everything else after the fact.
Yeah, you've been absolutely amazing in that regard, and I can personally attest that you've really saved lives on cases that I've handled, and it was never about the money, it was always about being a doctor and getting the job done, and I admire that about you, and you've been so consistent about that throughout the years. And I wish more people knew that about you and appreciated that about you. And I can say firsthand, having seen it in action, you really are a special individual. You take really good care of your patients, and you genuinely care about what you do. So I have to commend you on that. It's such an honor to work with somebody of your caliber. Last question I wanted to ask you. So a lot of specialists out there, it takes months and months and months to get in to see them for the evaluation. So if you were to be able to talk about your office and what it's like to schedule appointments and being seen, what is special about your clinic that breaks the mold from other specialists and the wait time to get in to be seen?
As a general rule of thumb, we tell everyone, from the time you send the referral, unless the referral is like stat or urgent, there is something, but even if it's just a regular referral, our commitment is we want to see that patient within 2-4 weeks at the latest. The hiccup for us most of the time is not how soon we can get him in, is how responsive the client or the patient and
Sure.
just answering the phone, because sometimes they don't recognize who we are. It helps a lot if the referring entity let the patient know upfront, hey, I'm referring you to Dr. Abdulhamid or to Royal Spine Surgery. Expect
Sure.
a phone call from them. If they call you, know that they're calling you because we are sending you there,
Right.
versus it's just a piece of paper and then we just call them and they're like, who are you?
Sure.
And in the personal injury world, it's a little interesting, and you might appreciate this as a lawyer. Sometimes we talk to the patient and say, listen, I was told not to talk to the doctor. You have to talk to my lawyer first. I have a lawyer representing me. I'm like, so now we have to reach out to the attorney and say, can you talk to your client, because we're trying to bring him in, and
Sure.
and they refuse to talk to us because they have this gag order, I guess, that they can't
That's
talk
funny.
to anyone
Sure,
without your approval.
Well, in defense of them, they're scared, and
Yeah,
they don't.
yeah.
They're scared. They don't know the process. They don't understand the process. But you got to talk to your doctor when a doctor calls. That's important, and it brings up one of the most important topics that we're going to be covering today in the panel is communication. Communication with the specialists and with the lawyer, and that's a textbook example that you just provided of how important it is that everybody be on the same page and working together and collaborating. So.
100%. 100%. But yeah, generally speaking, if someone wants to refer to us, send a referral. Our commitment is we will try to get those patients within 2 to 4 weeks at the latest. Ideally within 2 weeks, assuming again we get him on the phone and we're able to get him on the schedule. And
Sure.
and there are times when we open up additional days just to accommodate. I'm all about let's get these patients. They're not just suffering in terms of physical injuries and physical suffering, but every day counts.
Sure.
In terms of their health, but also in terms of their financial loss. They're not able to go back to work. They're not able to function with their family. They can't play with their kids. Every day counts. For people that have been in pain, severe pain, I remember that because I had pain at some point in time. You watch the clock, and every second feels like it's a day.
Sure.
And you're like, when can this just be over with? So that's why we try to get him in as quickly as we can. So.
Yeah. And you do an excellent job with that. So again, thank you so much for being part of the panel today and participating in our conference here. And Dr. Abdulhamid, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. I'm
All
excited. All right.
Cool.
Thank you.
From all of us at the Lazzara Law Firm and the Chiropractic and Legal Injury Conference, thank you for listening. We hope you never need us, but if you or someone you love does, know they'll have a team dedicated to helping them rebuild, recover, and reconnect with what matters most, their loved ones and the life they deserve. This is the Chiropractic and Legal Injury Podcast, where knowledge is power and collaboration transforms care. If today's episode opened your eyes, share this episode with your network and help spread the word about the realities of personal injury care. Follow us on social media to keep learning and connecting with this incredible community.